Hey, it's Mike Hambright with another Flip Nerd VIP show. Today I have with me a special guest. He is Randy Wall. He's the president of the Salt Lake REIA. He's an active investor, has taught a lot of other people how to invest in real estate. He's an active writer and speaker and teaches a lot of folks how to invest with integrity. Before we get started with today's show, let's take a second to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Randall.
That's
Welcome
all right.
To the show.
I'll
How are you?
Either one, but Randall's better. Hi, Mike.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. Yeah, thanks for being on the show. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your role with the Salt Lake REIA?
Well, as far as Salt Lake REIA, I think I'm the longest running president of the Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association, and we are the largest real estate group in the state. We have probably about 400 dues-paying members, and we're not going to count the 1,000 that just sign up on our website. But we have a very active community here of investors, and so it's been great. I just did a bus tour with Bill Bronchick, who came to town, and I helped him.
I just interviewed him last week. I don't know if you know that, but yeah.
No, Bill's great. Bill's a good friend of mine.
Yeah. Okay.
So, We've done a lot of stuff over the years, and then I got my start in real estate when I was really young, in Portland, Oregon. Actually, I worked for a couple of real estate investors remodeling houses when I was 14, 15 years old. And they were looking for cheap labor, and I was, 6'4" at that time, and so they needed a big kid with a strong back and money. So I got into it then, and I saw what could be done and what they were doing, and it piqued my interest. And so I spent almost 5 years in the military, and by the time I got out, I was ready to go. And so in '88 I bought my first investment property and got so excited that I bought another one. So I had two of them go at the same time, and I was living in my grandfather's basement at the time, but I lost $50,000 on my first rehab.
Oh, wow.
And there was nobody, in those days, there was nobody telling you how to do it. There was nobody who was, there was no Robin Thompson or real estate clubs or anything else. And so I just kind of bootstrapped it. But my second house, I made $138,000 on.
Okay.
And so that was a really good deal for me, and that's what kept me going, because I think if I had failed on both of them, that my wife would have said no more. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of folks that, we'll talk about this some more, about advice for folks that are interested in starting or ramping up and things like that. But, it's unfortunate. There's a lot of folks that have an interest in real estate investing and get started, and they kind of get started wrong, or they take some bad advice, or overpay for a house and believe the wholesaler's numbers or whatever it might be, and kind of get wiped out of the game before they really even get started. So glad that you had one wash out the other one right back to back, I guess. So
right. No, absolutely. Sometimes I think the worst thing that can happen is to be lucky from the beginning.
Yeah.
You just don't learn much. I learned more from that $50,000 loss than I've learned, from any of the. I've probably done 500 flips. So
okay, wow.
It's, from any of those, that was the one that really got me going, and I learned a ton from it. So it was good.
Yeah, I got started in 2008 as the market was kind of, I guess, crashing around us. And, my wife and I started our business. In all honesty, we had no real estate experience. So we were very naive as to what was even going on. And our first couple of houses that we rehabbed, we sold on the first day they were on the market, all cash. and we're like, oh, this is easier than what everybody said it was. Oh, this is nice. And so of course that didn't continue to happen. But yeah, I definitely have seen people that do really well on their first deal. And sometimes the lessons aren't there about how to move forward, and you start kind of taking for granted that it's not always quite that easy. So
no, that's a fact. Well, it's good that you stuck with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Salt Lake REIA and your role there, and a little bit about your club as well.
Well, basically, we have a meeting the second Wednesday of every month, 6:30, and we meet in the main auditorium of the Salt Lake Community College, the Miller campus. And we will bring in speakers. Sometimes we'll have national speakers. We'll have Wendy Patton, Bill Bronchick, Mr. Landlord, Jeffrey Taylor.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. He's just very entertaining guy. But we'll bring in national speakers. But most of the time we have speakers that are local. And a few years ago, I decided that we wanted to focus on local topics, people that are investing here locally. We do not bring in speakers that are, promoting real estate in Florida or, other states. It's only Utah and states that touch Utah.
Right.
And so we cover everything. We've got a lot of people are holding rental property. So we hold forth on the different things to save money and to protect yourself with rental properties. I do a lot of trusts. I guess I'm kind of an expert on trusts. I've had a number of attorneys that pay my ridiculous hourly fee to have me teach them about trusts, but we put a lot of properties in trusts just for anonymity's sake, and there's a few other advantages as well. But it's so we teach about that. I'm trying to think of some of the other topics. Remodeling, rehab's always a big topic.
Yeah.
Lease options, sandwich lease options, a little bit on commercial apartments, things like that. So basically any topic that is of interest to our membership, we try to find an expert on that. And I end up speaking quite a bit, but I find that I like to bring somebody else in if I can, because I get tired of hearing my own voice.
Hey, I can understand that. That's why this show has been great for me. I get to talk to other people, and I can kind of sit back and absorb what they're saying and learn myself. So you don't do a tremendous amount of, it sounds like it's mostly residential stuff, not a tremendous amount on commercial, right?
No. Yeah.
That's pretty typical.
Mostly residential. We'll get into multi-units, of course, but it's residential, not really strip malls and things like that. Right. And it's I don't know. I found that everybody gravitates towards something of interest, some aspect of investing in.
Yeah.
And it seems like most people like to do residential real estate. I myself, I like it.
Yeah, it's just easier to bite off than commercial. And I know some commercial guys that have really never been in residential. They just went straight to commercial. But most commercial people that I know seem to have started in residential and, kind of worked their way up or made their way there just because the deals were bigger or for whatever reason. But yeah, in my experience, I talk to a lot of REIA club presidents and people that are involved with REIA clubs on the show here. And it seems like it's overwhelmingly residential stuff that they tend to focus on. So, or notes. I mean, notes are very popular right now. Yeah. And you do a lot of note stuff too. Is that right?
I do a little bit. We actually have, bought notes from some of the big banks, Chase, et cetera. And notes can be really good. And there's a lot that you can do. I find that with investing, success comes from having a lot of tools in your tool bag. Yeah. And so, we've got one that's we're working on in Park City right now that's in foreclosure. It's got a 2.7 million first, a 1.6 second, and a bunch of junior liens. And in the past, we'll take something like that, buy out the first at a discount, and then either negotiate. We actually haven't had to foreclose any of them. Usually, we can get everybody, all the junior ones, to settle out pretty cheap. I just did one where we had $500,000 in junior liens, and I've settled those for $3,000, which was a pretty good deal after we bought the note on the first. And so,
so are you going direct? Are you going direct to lenders and doing this?
Yes.
Okay.
which is, people always said, oh, you can't get, Chase, you can't get these other banks to split off single notes. Sometimes
Right.
you can.
Yeah.
So.
You think that are you primarily doing that with multi-million-dollar properties, big properties like that? Is that what the
I've done that
difference is?
down on the $300,000 range as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think the cheapest note I bought was, I think, $90,000, and it had a $45,000 rebate on it. So.
Okay. What does that mean?
That means
rebate.
there was a credit in there, and so we bought the note. We got $45,000 of our $90,000 back.
Okay. And what is that? Tell us more about that. What's the credit?
I wish I could say that I knew a lot about the why of that, but
it doesn't matter.
Not expecting it. Yeah, I just the bank sent me a check, and I was like, "What's this check for?" I just bought the note, and they said, "Well, this credit pertained to that note." And I said, "You're kidding me?" And they said, "No, this goes with whoever owns the note gets this credit, so we're cutting you a check for it."
Yeah,
it's $45,000.
That's a nice surprise. Yeah.
So it was a good surprise. I wish I could say it was from some brilliance on my own, but
yeah,
I just stood there and said, "Thank you."
Yeah, sometimes we get lucky, huh?
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky.
That's right. That's right. So your club, would you say it's made up of? Do you have many veterans in your club, or is a lot of newer folks? Yeah.
No, we do actually, and it's not. I don't own this club. It's we set it up to where we have a board. And so it's not a nonprofit just because of the hassle of setting up a nonprofit, but it's pretty close to that. So basically, we've got a board. We all have elected positions. I've been there forever now. I think the last probably 7, maybe 8 years, 9 years. But everything we make, we put back into the club, and so we put it into training and different events and things like that for our members. And so we have, I'd probably say, about 20 to 25% are veterans, meaning guys that have done more than a dozen deals, a dozen transactions. And then you have everything else from, the rank amateur, newbie, all the way on up to guys that have done hundreds of deals. Yeah.
No, I'm a big supporter of REIA clubs just because that's kind of where I, began to gather information and learn. And most folks that I know started that route. They went to a REIA club and saw somebody speak or talked to a vendor or heard some other investors telling stories. And so I just think it's such a critical, it's such a great thing. Tell us a little bit about your kind of philosophy on REIA clubs in terms of the balance between education and selling. And there's obviously some clubs that focus very heavily on selling, and for some people the club is their business.
Right.
For some clubs, it's meant to, there's some altruistic reasons for it to, really kind of benefit the community. And then for some, there's obviously, it feeds other businesses that they're in, whether they do deals together or they're an attorney that's trying to fuel their business or other things. None of which are wrong, by the way. They're just a different model. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think ours is more on the altruistic model, and I think I've pushed that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I like to help people, and I can't afford to spend all day, every day doing that, but I can do that once a month and with the people that I meet there. Now, I do get a number of transactions out of there. In fact, anybody that goes to an investment club should be doing business out of that club, networking with other wholesalers, rehabbers, you name it. I sell properties to people that go to the club. I buy properties from people that go to the club. And so that's good. When you come to ours, we'll do probably 3 to 4 paid trainings a year. Other than that, everything else is, free. You're going to come, you're going to sit there from 6:30 to 9:30, and it seems like it's a long meeting, but we run over frequently.
Yeah.
And, we don't have people walking out, but it's something where we just provide a lot of really good content and information. And I tell people when they speak for us, when they come to speak, that they've got to be long on information, long on education, and real short on sales. So usually they'll talk for 45 minutes, and then 5 minutes at the end they'll give their name, their phone number, and their contact information and what they do. And that's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
And it's just we don't do a lot of sales. There's not a lot of, we have a lot of months where nobody's pitching anything.
Right.
In fact, probably 9 months out of 12, that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even a lot of folks that do have something for sale these days have realized that it's not so much a sales pitch as it is educate people first. And if they like what you have to teach, then maybe they'll be interested in something else. So I think the whole sales, like, let's run to the back of the room and, you know, I'm only taking the first 20 people that swipe their credit card. That stuff, that doesn't seem to be around a whole lot anymore. I'm sure it still is, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to an event recently that was kind of like that. It's I didn't notice people going back in droves like they used to.
Yeah.
Seems like you have to give a little bit more, which is, you know, the way it should be.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's in fact, I'm working on a new website of my own because I have people always asking me, you know, where can I find more information? So what I did is I set it up without a fixed fee structure. Basically, you log in and you decide what you want to pay for a month's membership, and it might be $1, or it might be $5, or it might be 50 or $100.
Yeah.
And you've got the choice, because I remember when I was starting out, I read this book by Robert Allen. I got it in a garage sale for 50 cents.
Yeah.
So I turned, $1,000 into, $10 million in real estate. And I thought, man, that was really good. It got me fired up, and I was so excited, and I charged right out, but it really didn't tell me how to do it. And so I've always thought about that, and always thought that I wanted to help other people. And at that time, I couldn't afford more than probably a 50-cent book. And so I figured that if I, threw a, randallwall.com website up and let people offer what they felt they could afford, that I'm not out anything, and neither are they.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting.
We'll add that website. We'll add the link to that below the video here so folks can get to you.
Cool. That'd be great.
You just want the folks that are coming that want to pay $100 a month, or do you want the $1?
You know what? I'm happy either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, there's a lot of satisfaction. I mean, the things that you enjoy the most in life, it's what you give that really makes you, it's what makes you happy. It gives quality to your life. We all got to make a living.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I don't regret any time that I've ever spent helping anybody or any good deed, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think it's there's probably a lot of things in life. We're just saying it because we're in this industry, but this is very much a karma type business. What goes around comes around, and I think it's important to always do the right thing. And once in a while, when something bad happens, as long as you're always doing the right thing, something good's just around the corner. So I think you have to operate that way. If you don't, you're not going to stand the test of time in this industry. So
absolutely, and it's it's funny because that's exactly what you're saying is really true. They say you can eat a sheep once, but you can shear it 1,000 times.
There you go.
And there's a lot of truth. We've had a few people in and out of. We have a fairly small community, I guess, or small area. Salt Lake's not really that big. It's 40-mile span's got 2 million people in it, and so it's kind of spread out. But if you screw people, word gets around fast. Yeah. And I don't ever I have properties I won't wholesale to beginners if they're a major remodel. Yeah. Because I want them to succeed. I don't want to be known as the guy that wholesaled a crappy property to somebody that wasn't ready for it. Yeah. Yeah. Why
don't you tell us, I know that you have done a number of, you do a bit of mentoring and coaching on rehabbing and real estate investing in general, and you kind of pride yourself a lot on integrity and stuff. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your kind of the coaching side of your business, of the mentoring, and how you try to wedge in the integrity piece into that?
Well, part of it is, I guess it's just the family values. My grandparents were Amish and Mennonites, and my dad raised me up with a real strong sense of the family name. Integrity, is important. Do business like you'd want people to do business with you. Yeah. So when I'm, teaching people, I always tell them, do the right thing. Whatever it is, do the right thing. You're never gonna lose. And I have every now and then you don't get through to people.
Yeah.
I had a guy that has come to me for a year or two, and he told me, he says, "Hey, I got this great deal. You won't believe this deal I got." And I was all excited. I said, "Great, tell me about it." And he says, "Well, I went down to Nephi, and down in Nephi is a little rural farming community about 45 minutes from Salt Lake." And he said, "And I found this piece of property there, and this old lady owned it, and I knew that I could sell it overnight for $150,000. And so I asked her, she said she wanted to sell, and so I asked her, I said, 'How much do you want for that property?' And he said that she replied, 'I want $20,000 for this property.' And my sad trainee says, 'Well, I'll give you 14 for it.' And he bought that property for 14.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember feeling sad, a little sick inside. And I want to be accused of being a shrewd businessman, but not a thief.
Yeah.
And so, but it came around. I mean, I think he lost 4 homes within the next 18 months. And I'm a big believer in karma.
Oh yeah, you got to be.
I mean, it's, he got going. He thought that was great. He made a bunch of money on it, and then went out and then lost 4 homes. And I think it's because it's who you are, and who you are is who you are, right down to your cellular level.
Yeah.
You're either honest or you're not. You either got integrity or you're not. And it's not like you just flip a switch and it turns on overnight.
Right.
And so, I for my opinion, I think that being honest and having integrity goes a long ways. And so, from my own standpoint, we worked a short sale on a property, and I got the bank to take $180,000 on it, but I couldn't find any buyers for it. And so, about $225,000 was owed on it, and so we were shorting it down to 180. And so I told the seller, I said, "Look, I was the broker, the real estate broker. I said, here's the deal. I got to drop this listing. I'll buy this property at 180. I can't find anybody else to do it." And it was back in 08 and 09 when things had tanked.
Right.
And so I had dropped the listing. I got a signed contract between him and I for $180,000. I had the okay with the bank. I didn't have any obligations to do anything else. But a week before I was closing, I got this phone call. And it was from this real estate agent. Said, "Hey, that house that you had listed over there? I had a buyer came by and looked at it, 3-4 months ago, and he's interested, and he'll pay $230,000 cash for that property. And would you be interested in talking to the owner or anything else?" And so I heard that, and I thought, I looked at my office, I had a couple of young guys working with me there. And I said, that's a pretty good spread, 180 to 230.
Yeah.
There's some good money in there. Probably $60,000 by the time it's all said and done. I'm sorry, and 40,000.
Yeah.
By the time it's all said and done. And then I looked at him and I said, "But you know what we got to do?" So I picked up the phone and I called the seller up and I said, "Good news for you.
Yeah.
We don't have to short sell your home. We're going to pay it all off. There's a buyer." And so I made a, $5,000, $6,000 commission on that one instead of a, $40,000 profit.
So in that instance, I guess what you had it listed for up around the 235 range or something?
Yeah, initially we would list it for the amount to wipe everything out. I didn't have any takers even at 180.
Yeah.
So we just had started the listing that high, and then we dropped the price on them.
Okay. So, and I know that ethics is another thing with rehabbing. And I know you do a lot of rehabbing. I do a lot of rehabbing. I just have never, there's a balance there between cutting corners and being cost effective. And I just, personally, I've never I don't like to cut corners. I always pride myself, even if it means that I'm, it's going to cost. It always means it's going to cost me, right, in terms of that deal. But it's just I can't bring myself to cover anything up, which I never would. And so that's a tough thing. Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of balance that with rehabbing? I mean, it's so easy to cut corners, but yeah.
It goes back to, I guess, my upbringing. You don't want to do to somebody else what you wouldn't want done to yourself. Right. And so I'm the same way. I got to be honest, probably 90% of my rehabs over the last 2 years I run over on, over budget. Yeah. But I do them right. My philosophy with rehabs is that whatever property is at and whatever neighborhood it is the best one in that neighborhood, in that price range. Yeah. And so even in down markets, I sell fast. So I go in and say, all right, we're going to do the right thing on each property. We're going to make it look good. And sometimes you'll have, a sewer line that needs to be replaced that you could, snake, but you can see that it's crumbling. Or, I had one that major foundational problems in an area that you couldn't see except for by pulling back part of the wall. And, you hate those kind of things, but you just, you put your head down and you move through them, you say, all right, we're going to do the right thing. We don't want somebody else to live with this. Right. I wouldn't want to live with this. And so we do the right thing. And out of the last 2 years, I ran over on just about everything. But I've sold on 100%. I've sold everything I've sold for more than I originally planned on. Right. And so, I made money on it. And that was the good thing. It's just going to bed at night and being able to sleep. Right. And look people in the face. That's priceless. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm with you. You do the right thing, even if it's expensive. Don't cut corners. And agents, investors, agents that do. I've got about 85 agents that I'm a broker for as well. They're mostly investors, but those guys that cut those corners, they're the ones that get sued and they have a lot of grief. Yeah. And they don't ever have, they're never happy because number one, they're not happy with how they're living and how they're investing and working. And number two, it comes around to bite you. Yeah. That stuff comes back around for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It really does. Yeah. Well, we got just a few minutes left here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about just kind of some thoughts you have or advice for folks that are looking to get started in real estate investing or have a little bit of experience looking to ramp it up? You've got a lot of experience, and I know you share a lot of it in your REIA club and other places, but why don't you share it with the folks that are watching or listening to my show, some advice you have? Yeah. All right. Well, I'll cover it too. For beginners is don't quit. It's basically, it's a Galaxy Quest, never quit, never surrender. Yeah. But, if you keep going forward, you write down a goal, have a written plan, especially if you're a rehabber and it's your first rehab. Stick to the written plan and keep moving towards your goal at the very end. Don't give up because success is right there. I don't know anybody anywhere who has not succeeded in this business when they focused on it and they didn't give up and they kept trying. Right. And it doesn't matter whether you're a UPS driver, a mailman, a housewife, etc. They've all succeeded. And some of them did it in 6 months, some did it in 6 weeks, and some it took 6 years before they finally got the nerve up to actually pull the trigger. Yeah. And so, that's a big thing. And then for those that are more invested that in the business that have been doing it for a while, this year I'm focusing more on I call it the big kill strategy. And I've done houses and remodels from $80,000 up to $1 million, over $1 million. And it's funny because since I've done such a good job at the club, all the houses that are down under 200,000, there's a intense competition for those properties. Yeah. And so if you step your game up to the 400,000 to 600, 700,000 range or higher, nobody's playing in that market. And I ask other investors, well, why aren't you investing in at a little bit higher level where there's less competition? Right. And they all say that it's scary. Successful people get scared too, but
Yeah.
they take action even when they're afraid. And I have a motto every year, and this year's motto is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Or saying, I guess I should say, but that's the saying. And there's a lot more money there. When I was down below 200,000, my average on a flip was probably average profits were probably $30,000 to 30 to 35,000. Now my average profits are up close to $100,000.
Okay.
And it's even on property that's selling at 400,000 or 450, I'm still close to $100,000 profit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know exactly what you're investing in, but in my experience, even the higher dollar properties, you're still using fundamentals to buy it right and things like that. So not necessarily more risky. If you can start to pull.
Everything is the same.
Yeah.
It's the same. I mean, it's the difference in your area. You've probably got, in one neighborhood it's worth 150. In another neighborhood it's worth 350.
Right. Same house. Yeah.
Same house, and you're using the same principles, the same repair techniques, and everything else that you're going to do to it. It's all the same. It's just numbers.
Yeah.
And so I say stretch yourself. If you're trying to take it to the next level, push yourself to where you're feeling like you're a little bit stretched. I mean, overwhelmed, maybe not, but stretched.
Yeah.
And once it's like kissing a girl. I can remember fantasizing about kissing a girl for the first time and thought about it. And I remember I got Lisa Harwood behind the Redland Schoolhouse in Redland, Oregon, and I kissed. It was the first girl that I ever kissed. After that, there was no stopping me.
Yeah.
It was done. It was like, boy, that wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
I've kissed one, I can kiss them all.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's kind of the same principle as in real estate. Once you pull down one of those bigger deals and you do it successfully, it's easier to do the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, et cetera.
Right.
Just gets easier from there on out.
Yeah, which is where I think a lot of people are intimidated by commercial initially, and they kind of work their way into it. And they start to realize, like you said, it's a bigger deal, but the fundamentals are the same. Of course, different property types and things, but yeah.
Absolutely. No,
awesome.
It's been wonderful talking to you.
Right? Yeah. Thanks for being on the show today. And we'll add links below for getting to the Salt Lake REIA and getting to your website as well. Really appreciate your time today and your insights, and appreciate you operating with integrity. It's definitely something that we can't have enough of in this industry for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Randall. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.